This is the Formovie X5. Let's give it a projector review. Let's get this thing unboxed. But before we go any further, I do want to note this is the Chinese version of the X5. So all the languages, the operating system, everything is going to be in Chinese. And that is going to be kind of how I frame this review. Is this projector still worth it? Or should you wait for the North American version if you are someone who lives in North America, specifically in the US? So let's get this thing out of here. We're going to remove this lovely little wrap to reveal the X5. Now the X5 I think looks gorgeous. It has that nice reflective front where you could see my cameraman Jake. He was nice enough to help me with this review. I should say brother-in-law. We have this nice fabric top with those slits on the back. It is plastic on the back, but you get nice materials in the front, the top, and then the ventilation on the left and right side is also plastic. We get this little manual, but it is, again, in Chinese. So if you cannot read Chinese, you are going to be flying a little bit solo with this projector as far as setup, getting everything working. And then at the bottom of the box, we get a remote with batteries, a brick, as well as a power cord. Now, opening it up, we reveal the remote. It is a decent remote. I wish it was a little bit more premium for the price of this projector. It's just plastic. And then we do have a power brick. Now, with my power brick in particular, there were some scratches on the sticker. I'm not sure if you can quite make that out on camera, but we'll talk about it a little later. But that is one thing I noticed when I first opened up my X5. And then we have a power cord. Now, I don't think this is the original power cord that Formovie sends with this projector, as it is the Chinese version of the projector. But I purchased my X5 from ProjectorScreen.com. Here in the US, and I believe that they open up the projector and swap out the power cord for a US one. Now, I also think this is how my batteries got lost. I put my own batteries in the back of the remote, as you can see there. But I think ProjectorScreen.com is opening up the projector box to swap out the power cord, as well as change the projector's interface's language to English. That way you have a better experience upon first boot up. And I think that also must be how I got a scratched power brick. I'm not sure if that is the way that Formovie sends it, or if that's something that happened when ProjectorScreen.com got it. But since it's the power brick, I'm going to assume that that is on Formovie's side. Another reason I think that this is opened when I got it is this wrap around the projector itself. Now, it obviously was not as ripped as you see here. I got a little too excited when I opened it, but it was just held kind of around the projector with this little piece of Scotch tape. So I assume that they're opening it, they're changing some settings, they probably plug it in for a second, and I assume that's how my batteries got lost. But again, it's just two AAAs, so not a big deal, but I thought I should make a note of it. Another thing you should note is when I first got it, I turned it on and I was greeted with the Android recovery screen, which is great. So there's not many buttons on the projector. It's only that one power button I just pointed out. So I got a little bit frustrated, but luckily if you clicked the power button, it does get past that Android recovery screen. And I don't mean just like, oh, this has been resetted to factory settings screen. Like, it was on the full, like, looks almost like a BIOS screen. So luckily though, the power button did then eventually get me booted up into Fang OS. Now, don't let the size fool you though. The X5 does boast some pretty impressive specs. At $1,500 on sale, you get a 4K resolution at 60 Hz using a 0.47 DLP chip with pixel shifting tech, a claimed brightness of 4,500 ANSI lumens, which we will definitely talk about later, a contrast ratio of around 1,000 to 1 full on, full off, a throw ratio of 1.27 to 1, a image size from 60 inches to technically as far back you want to put the projector, HDR10 support, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, a MT9669 MediaTek processor, some speakers by Denon, Fang OS operating system, weighs around 9 pounds, but you also get a estimated light life of over 20,000 hours. Let's move around back to take a look at the ports. Starting off, you get one Ethernet port, one headphone jack, one USB-A, two HDMI ports, the first one supporting eARC and supporting HDMI 2.1. So this is a great place for you to plug in some type of surround sound system, as well as a optical port. Sadly, upon first boot, you will immediately notice that the UI is one of the main things holding it back here in North America. Since there is no North American version of the X5 yet, you are locked into FangOS, a Chinese-based operating system. It is pretty easy to change the language to English, but none of the streaming apps will work, so you will need to use a streaming device such as maybe like a 4K Chromecast to get all your streaming apps up and running. A bright spot is that the screensavers will still work here in North America and are gorgeous, I must say, but I'm kind of a sucker for these bright colors. Now, let's move on to the elephant in the room, the claimed 4,500 ANSI lumens. Not surprising, this projector is not a 4,500 ANSI lumen projector. According to ProjectorScreen.com's review, and the Hookups YouTube channel, it's realistically more like a 2,450 ANSI lumen projector, but I encourage you to go check out their reviews of this projector, and I'll have those linked in the description below. Getting the marketing BS though out of the way, the X5 is still a super bright projector. The only complaint I have with the brightness is that I can't dim the projector enough to use in my tiny bedroom without blinding myself. As you can see here, there are only 4 different brightness settings, and that was a real disappointment to me, as I feel like 10 brightness settings should really be the minimum an expensive projector should have. But if this doesn't bug you, the X5 does deliver when it comes to brightness. With this fantastic brightness, Formovie claims you can use it on a screen up to 1,000 inches. And while technically speaking they are correct, because just like if you hold a flashlight farther away from a wall, the bigger the light's going to be on the wall, the dimmer it's going to be per square inch. So because of this, I think a more realistic range would be from like 60 to 200 inches if you still want to retain a decent level of brightness and decent image quality. Now, projectors using pixel shifting tech to achieve a 4K image can really vary on how sharp the resulting 4K image is. But I am happy to say that with image sharpness, the Formovie X5 does not disappoint. It looks fantastic, and even more so if you disable all types of keystoning in the settings. Now, sadly, because of limitations on my end, I filmed this projector review in 1080p, so please take my word for it, this is a sharp looking projector. Moving on to the colors, they look great on the X5, especially with HDR video playback. I didn't find myself feeling like any of the colors were washed out or lacking depth, though the greens on the X5 do seem to be pretty oversaturated out of the box. But because I lack the appropriate equipment to test the actual color accuracy or color gamut of the projector, I again would refer you to the Hookups video as he color tests the projector. Another limitation on my side is this is all SDR footage I'm showing you, as I could not find any free to use HDR content on YouTube. So if you know any, feel free to put it in the comments below. Sound quality for me is a little bit of a mixed bag. I know a lot of other reviewers tend to love the sound this little box can put out. My high expectations could be part of the problem, but I give the X5 a 7 out of 10 on sound quality. It gets loud and can simulate surround sound decently, but I feel like it lacks in the clarity in the highs and bass. That being said, the sound this small box can put out is still completely usable and would be great in a pinch if you're without a surround sound system. Thankfully, fan noise is a total non-issue. I had audio for this video, but I decided to scrap it because the sound of my breathing was so much louder than the fan that it was super annoying to listen to. But yeah, she's very quiet. The input lag seems to be around the 40 millisecond mark in gaming mode, which I'd say is pretty good for a projector not claiming to be a gaming monitor replacement. So yeah, you can play Smash Bros on this all day. Sadly, with FangOS, there isn't much you can do here in the US. There are some nice settings you can tweak, such as the custom picture mode, some different sound profiles, that type of thing. But streaming apps just flat out don't work, and there isn't a easy way to get the Google Play services running on this machine without having root access. Now, if you have an easy way to do this or a good way to get apps running natively on this machine, I'd love to know in the comments below, as this would be a game changer. This machine has a decent amount of RAM for a smart device. It has a 128 gig SSD and it has a decent processor. So please let me know in the comments below. For me personally though, I just installed a custom launcher from a USB thumb drive to get rid of the home screen and for ads for things that were obviously going to be region locked. But I'm not sure if I can fully recommend that, as you do have to disable a security setting here in the projector's security settings, as well as know how to prepare the thumb drive appropriately. Moving on though, the auto keystoning and autofocusing on this projector works pretty dang well. Not quite as good as on like XGIMI projectors, but totally acceptable. They don't take forever to complete, and the remote has a button to trigger the autofocus feature whenever needed. Plus, you can turn off all the keystoning relatively easily. One of my favorite features though is the ability for the projector to detect if someone's in front of it to dim the image. I have family members with small children, so this is a great safety feature, so I don't have to worry about accidentally performing laser eye surgery on my extended family. ThingOS does make the overall user experience a little frustrating, but if you use a dedicated streaming dongle and change the language to English, it's very usable. Putting that aside, you can have a fantastic experience with the X5. I've been using the X5 to help host movie nights at my brother's house, since he has a huge blank white wall where we can project a 180-inch image and hook the projector into his surround sound system, which just sounds great and is so cool to see that on the big screen with the surround sound experience. Putting the movie experience aside, there's also nothing like playing Smash Bros. On a 180-inch projection. Conclusion, recommendation or no? I'm left with a difficult decision on whether to recommend this projector or not. It has a fantastic image and is versatile if you don't have a dedicated sound system. I have had a blast gaming on it, but the occasional hit of the home button on the built-in remote can be jarring when it sends you back to the home screen. This might sound like a cop-out, but I'm going to recommend it on a few conditions. If you are a pretty tech-savvy individual and don't mind plugging in an Apple TV or a similar streaming device and don't want to wait for the North American version to come out, I would 100% recommend this projector. But if you are able to wait a month or two and see if Formovie announces the North American version, I think it would be worth the wait. Thank you guys so much for watching. As you probably noticed, this is my first YouTube video, so if you would like to support the channel and help me make more reviews like this, please like and subscribe and share this video with anyone you know looking into portable projectors, as it would be a huge help to my channel. But as always, thank you so much.